The first crossroad. The air was still, heavy with the weight of unspoken questions. I sat on an old wooden bench at the end of the quiet street where I'd grown up. My eyes traced the familiar cracks in the pavement, following the path I'd walked so many times as a boy. A path I didn't know would one day feel so different, like a fork in the road that never used to be there. This street once belonged to someone else, someone whose name now stirred in the minds of those who understood legacy, though I hadn't realized his greatness at the time. He was a giant, A.G. Gaston, but to my younger self, he was just another man. I didn't know back then how a life could stretch beyond the confines of this place. Lost in thought, I barely noticed the figure that appeared beside me, as though stepping out of the very air itself. It wasn't until he spoke that I realized I wasn't alone. "You've been thinking about that road again, haven't you?" the voice said, familiar and strange all at once. Startled, I turned to see a man who looked like me, but not quite. Older, wiser, and somehow more assured. He carried the confidence of someone who had crossed bridges I had yet to find. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice betraying my confusion. The man smiled. "I'm you, but not the version sitting on this bench, wondering if the road leads anywhere. I'm the you who's already walked it, the version of yourself who found out what's waiting on the other side of hesitation and doubt." I stared at him, unsure whether to laugh or question my sanity. "So, you're telling me you're me?" "That's right," he said, leaning back on the bench as though this was the most natural thing in the world. "I'm the you who figured it out, the version of you who made the right choices and didn't let fear stand in the way." A strange mix of disbelief and curiosity settled in my chest. "And you're here to what? Show me how to become you." "I'm here because you're standing at a crossroad. You've been waiting for something, someone, to show you the way forward. But the truth is, you've had the power to decide all along. You can move toward me, or you can stay where you are. The choice is yours." I looked down at the cracked pavement beneath my feet, my mind spinning with the weight of what he was saying. It sounded simple, too simple. I thought of my life, the people I came from. Modest backgrounds, modest dreams. The people around me didn't think much beyond the world we knew. How was I supposed to reach for something more? "But how?" I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "I don't come from greatness. I grew up like everyone else, just trying to get by. I even grew up on the same road as Gaston, and I didn't realize what that meant until I was grown." His gaze softened, and for a moment the air seemed to carry a weight beyond the moment, as if the legacy of that name lingered in the wind. "Ah, Gaston," he said, his voice almost reverent. "He walked this road before you, didn't he? A man who saw what others couldn't. But it wasn't his beginnings that made him great. It was his choices. He looked at the same world you do, but he saw the opportunities hidden behind the obstacles. That's what made him different." I felt a pang of something like shame, but also hope. "So, it's all on me then? My choices are what's holding me back?" "Yes," he said simply, "but also no. It's not just your choices. It's the way you think about them. You've been waiting for some perfect moment where everything falls into place, where you suddenly become the person you want to be. But that's not how it works. You become me by stepping into the unknown, by making the hard choices that others avoid. You don't wait for certainty, you create it." I frowned, the weight of his words settling in. "What kind of choices? I've tried to make better decisions, but I always end up in the same place." "You hesitate," he said, his voice growing firmer. "Every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you second-guess yourself, you're moving further away from me. You think staying safe will protect you, but in reality, it's slowing you down. You have to be willing to commit, even when it's uncomfortable." The frustration I'd been carrying for years bubbled to the surface. "But what if I fail? What if I make the wrong move?" He leaned in closer, his voice calm but unyielding. "You will fail. That's a given. But failure isn't the problem. It's how you handle it that matters. Every failure is a lesson, not a verdict. The only difference between us is that I learned from my failures, while you've been avoiding them. You're so afraid of getting it wrong that you never give yourself the chance to get it right." Silence hung between us, thick with the truth I hadn't wanted to face. I had spent years avoiding risk, thinking that by playing it safe, I was protecting myself. But now I saw that all I'd been doing was standing still. What do I do now? I asked, feeling the weight of possibility and uncertainty in equal measure. You start by letting go of the idea that there's a perfect time, he said, his tone shifting to something more encouraging. The only time that matters is now. You act, and you adjust along the way. That's how I got here. I didn't have all the answers, and neither will you. But you'll figure it out as you move forward. I nodded slowly, the knot in my stomach loosening. And what about the people around me? My family, my friends? They don't understand this journey. They're content where they are. He paused for a moment, considering his words carefully. That's part of the price you'll have to pay. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will come with you. Growth often means leaving people behind, and that's not easy. But you have to decide what's more important, your comfort or your potential. The truth of it settled over me like a blanket, heavy but warm. I had been holding on to the familiar for too long, afraid of what it would mean to break away, but I couldn't deny the pull anymore. Something had to change. So you're saying I have to let go? I asked, my voice steady now. He smiled, standing from the bench. Not just let go, reach for something better. You've been holding on to the life you know because it's safe, but greatness doesn't come from safety. It comes from the willingness to step into the unknown, to leave behind what no longer serves you. I took a deep breath, feeling a shift inside me, a sense of clarity I hadn't felt before. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, I understood that I didn't need all the answers. I just needed to take the first step. I think I'm ready, I said, standing up to face him. His smile widened. Good. Then let's take that step. And just like that, he was gone, vanishing into the fading light of the evening. I stood there for a moment, alone again, but somehow lighter. The weight of doubt had lifted, replaced by something else. Possibility.